Tito. This is Talking Crazy 88. Back again with another podcast for you. Best movie I ever saw when I was 11 years old with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Commando. This was the song that was played at the end of the movie. Hold on, let me slow this down, baby. Let me slow this down. Oh, yeah. What y'all know about that? What y'all know about Commando? Arnold Schwarzenegger's best action movie ever. I hope they don't make a remake of that movie. I'll tell you a little story because back in the 80s, it was I can't believe I'm talking about. But see, I can talk about whatever I want to talk about on my podcast. And I'm going to talk about a story about how me, Brother Rich, and my boy T-Jan, back around 1985, we was gonna go see Rambo: First Blood Part 2, and we went down to the Lowe's Paradise Theater right on Fordham Road, and his mother, T-Jan's mother, took us to the theater, which she turned out to be a dyke, but that's another story that I'll get to on another podcast. But we saw the movie. It was a fantastic movie, action, full of action. That's what little boys, men in training, those are the type of movies we like to watch. But then we had no money to get back home, so we had to go up the Kingsbridge Road to a payphone because there was no cell phones back in 1985, people. You had to use payphones. And amazingly, when we was on the payphone, we was on there for about no more than 5 minutes until this Puerto Rican couple came up and said, wanted to ask us how long we're going to be on the phone because my mother was asking us 500 different questions except, hey, Mom, we ran out of money. We need you to pick us up on Fordham Road. That should have been the end of the conversation. The end of the conversation should have been like, okay, Danny, where are you? Cool. You're on Kingsbridge Road. All right, cool. Stay there. We'll be there in 15 minutes. Cool. Nah, 500 questions about nothing that has anything to do with why we were still on Fordham Road, Fordham and Kingsbridge. But anywho, that's my story for today. But the reason why I wanted to do this podcast is that I needed to talk about this subject for a little while because I've noticed comments on my last video podcast about single black mothers with multiple children equals the destruction of the black family. Now, there was a punk ass bitch. Well, two of them. The punk ass bitch deleted her comment. Cause I was just gonna go in on her. But there was this one punk ass bitch by the name of Kim Kynes. Going over there to her page. Cause she only had 3 paid punk ass videos uploaded. She made a comment by saying, "You sound like a fool," and called me a coon. Now, I responded by saying, "Sounds like you're mad because you have 3 baby daddies and no child support. I wonder who's a real coon. I wonder who is the real coon. Punk ass bitch." Which she was a punk ass bitch for leaving that stupid ass comment. That shows the intelligence of black American women in this country. And pretty much black, and the intelligence of black males that are being raised by women like this. There are black men being raised by black women like this who want to call me a coon on a podcast which I've done 3 years ago. Which I've done many other podcasts on various subjects, including coming down on Desmond Hatchett, the nigga that had 30 children with 15 women, and this punk ass bitch nigga who had who had 39 children with 17 women. That was on the Iyanla Vanzant show. And this really burns my britches because I've always stressed to black folks on all my podcasts, even on all of my podcasts, that each and every one of my podcasts that I've done, I've always thought about the topic at hand and what I was about to upload on YouTube. I've always thought about the podcast that I've done on the topics that I've done on my podcast before uploading it. There's a reason why. And I think every black person that's on YouTube should just stop speaking and start thinking about the subject at hand. Think about what the person doing the video or doing the podcast. Think about the subject at hand, because all y'all punk ass niggas like to read the titles and react like an emotional bitch. Y'all don't think about the title. Y'all don't think about the subject. Y'all don't think about what this guy is saying. Y'all just like to run y'all mouths and write a check that your butt can't cover. Okay? You're about to get your ass kicked. I'm not about to get my ass kicked by anybody. Okay? Verbally, intellectually, and physically. You're not gonna whoop my ass. Okay? You may pull that shit on an emotional nigga that's on YouTube who's got got a lot of money from suckers out there to do his movie, Fatherless America movie. I'm not hating. I mean, if he can get the money, go ahead and get the money, man. He has a talent to getting money out of suckers like y'all. Then go for it. I don't know if that nigga is gonna do the movie or not. He probably is gonna put out a movie. It's gonna be a fucked up movie, but nevertheless, he's gonna go through. But I don't want to talk about no bitch ass nigga. I don't want to talk about that bitch ass nigga spick anymore on my podcast. Do him. He's all right. Do him. Fuck him. Actually, fuck him. But on my podcast, this is the reason why. One of the few reasons why I do my podcast is because I'm usually getting into conversations with friends and family members, and relatives, particularly a relative of mine who wanted to argue with me about the definition of racism and white supremacy. He's arguing, this relative of mine wanted to argue with me about that racism and white supremacy is the same. And I said that it isn't the same. Because when you really think about it, racism, what it is, definition-wise, racism, in my interpretation, my definition of it, is that when one group of people, one racial group has control over certain resources and has control over that resources over another group of people, where they can behave superior and discriminate against that one group that doesn't have the resources. For instance, how many of y'all niggas like to patronize Chinese restaurants, right? Y'all give y'all money away to a Chinese restaurant in a minute to get some of that nasty Chinese food that they serve you, right? Well, think about it like this. Do you see any brothers and sisters working at a Chinese restaurant? I haven't seen one. They love to take your money. And they love to take their money, your money, and spend it within their own community. Okay? See, that's racism right there, where they're not giving back to your community. That's racism. Now, white supremacy goes a little bit beyond the racism between other groups, because racism, other groups are being superior over each other or over crumbs. That's what those stinking wetbacks out there in Mexico, in Los Angeles, in California, who ran black folks out of Compton, ran them out of Compton, South LA, about to run them out of Crenshaw. Nothing but wetback, stinking Mexicans out there who don't like black people, who don't mind killing black people, okay? Who despise black people to the point where they will kill you. See, that's racism, baby. See, my thing is that every other group, black folks, we are the only group of people, especially black Americans, we're the only group of people where violence is always perpetrated on us. But we are perceived as threats to the dominant society, white society. That's why that punk ass coward Darren Wilson shot Mike Brown. That's why that punk ass coward police officer up in Cleveland murdered Tamir Rice for no goddamn reason. Gotta get a sip of that sparkling seltzer water. My Schweppes raspberry lime. Love that shit. Gotta stop drinking soda, man. At my age, I gotta cut down on the soda and drink seltzer water. I don't mind. I love this shit. I've been drinking this shit when I was a teenager, but fuck it. But anyway, white supremacy goes a little bit deeper, where it's more global among white people all over the world, controlling the worldwide resources from non-white people, particularly black people. And there are and white people are committed to abusing black folks. See, that's why I don't really believe that there's no good white folks. Excuse me. There's no good white folks out there. They're all suspected racists to me. Let's take what happened in McKinley, Texas. I did a podcast on it, but I haven't put it up yet. But I'll put it up tonight before I put the Sunday sermon up. Now, the officer, since I did that podcast, that punk ass bitch ass officer that was doing barrel rolls and cussing out these black children and putting them in handcuffs, he eventually resigned. And there are going to be civil suits going on. That's going to happen. That it will eventually get settled, and the families of these children are going to get some money, which they should, because these punk ass white trash hillbillies down there in McKinley, Texas, especially this one punk ass bitch ass white person, white trash motherfucker. What is his name? Sean Toon. Now this motherfucker was an ex-convict, a convict, and he called the police on these black people that was in the neighborhood, these black children that are in the neighborhood, especially when that white mutant woman started a fight with the black girl who was affiliated, worked for a company that was affiliated with the Bank of America as a loan officer. You know, using white privilege and white supremacy to deny black folks of loans. Now that's white supremacy, people. What happened in McKinley, Texas is an example of white supremacy. Now, I just got through with listening to a brother Pride, Black Pride. Now, interestingly enough, I agree with some of his video. And I think that there's something valid about black folks who is in a predominantly white area. When there's a disturbance in that area, we tend to like to stick around and see what happens instead of getting the fuck up out of there. Whenever somebody mentioned that the police are called, they're coming. Y'all should have been, every last one of y'all black teenagers out there in McKinley, Texas, should have just hauled ass and got the hell out of that area, or got somewhere safe, went somewhere safe where you wouldn't encounter this punk ass officer Casebolt just going after everybody that has dark skin and putting them in handcuffs and pulling guns on them. Okay? See, brothers like Black Pride is teaching y'all how to defend yourself against these white mutants who love to practice white supremacy on. See, it's a system. White supremacy is a system that is dedicated to abusing non-white people, particularly black people, because I don't really give a fuck about other groups. All I care about is black people, because I'm black. Black people look like me. There's a black man that walked down the street in the neighborhood that I'm living in. These are people that look like me. Okay? So I don't give a fuck about the China man, the Japanese man, the light-skinned Hispanic man, the white-looking Hispanic man. I don't give the Hindu man, those Hindu coons. those Indian coons, the natives. I don't give a fuck about them. This is not about black supremacy or anything like that. It just means that I want to connect with black folks all over the world. Okay? When we get together all throughout the world and figure out that, hey, these white motherfuckers have been abusing us for years. We need to do something about this shit. Until we can get together and stop with all this bullshit about, oh, he's African, he's Nigerian, he's Jamaican. We can't fuck with him because he's Kenyan. We can't fuck with him because he's Guinea. He's from Guinea. Those Guinea people, they're stuck up. Those American blacks are fucked up. We gotta stop this shit. We gotta cut this bullshit out. And we gotta stop talking, running our mouths to the police, running our mouths to, just running our mouths in general, talking about nonsense, arguing about nonsense. Okay? See, the conversations that we should have been having, that I should have been having with my relatives and my friends and relatives, is getting together an economic plan, getting together a business plan, getting together a plan of developing our economy so we won't have to rely on a job, where we won't have to pass down generational debt to our children. We don't want to leave a bill to our children to bury us when we die. Okay? We don't want that to happen. And it's not going to happen with a city job, a state job, or a federal job. Okay? You got to get up off your ass, read more books. Instead of watching TV, read more books, start thinking, start educating yourself, start developing your mind. Next thing you got to do is develop your body. You got to go out and work out. Take some classes in self-defense classes. Take some karate classes, some martial arts classes, kickboxing classes. Step number 3, you got to get yourself a weapon. Get yourself a gun or a knife to defend yourself. Not to use on your own people, but just in case, if you end up in, let's say, Flagstaff, Arizona, where there's nothing but white people, and they want to fuck with you, and they want to try to hem you up, you got your 9mm Beretta, so you can put bullets in somebody's ass, so you can go out there and survive out in Flagstaff, Arizona, so people won't fuck with you. Okay, you got it, because right now we're in a state. Black folks are under siege. We are in a state of emergency. We have no allies except for ourselves and for our cousins overseas. So when we not start connecting with our cousins overseas, we'll be all right. We got to stop with all this forgiving our enemy. These are our enemies that are killing us. These are our enemies who are fucking with us on the job and getting us fired. Fucking with our money. See, if I was to fuck with another brother's money, I would get my throat cut. But y'all don't do that to those white people out there that's fucking with you on the job. Now, let me give you another example of my relative who wanted to argue with me about, historically, even in Jim Crow, because this seems to be his favorite, where black folks are being treated with disrespect and horrible because white people have the option, used to call us nigger, and abusing us at will, abusing black people openly. And I said, well, they're doing that now. They said, well, talking crazy. Well, well, back then it was legal to abuse a man, a black man, or when a white man calls a black man a nigger in a restaurant. And I said, they're doing it now. They don't need to call me a nigger. Guess what they did to Marvin Sapp, the gospel singer, out in Chicago. He did a show out in Chicago. He went with his tour group to Amy Ruth, a steakhouse out in Chicago in a predominantly white area. And the manager saw all these black folks and decided to turn this group away by saying that there's a dress code to get into the restaurant. And they looked around. Marvin Sapp, he just looked around and said, hey, well, we don't see nobody wearing a shirt and tie and shoes or anything like that. But here's the thing. What that manager did was discriminatory, but it wasn't discriminatory based on race. If they try to take it to court and say it's racial discrimination, Marvin Sapp will lose. And, white supremacy can change the rules as it goes along. Okay? They don't have... See, this is my point when black folks need to start thinking and stop speaking. Just because you read a few books and you think you're an expert on white supremacy, you don't know shit. I'm still learning. Okay? I'm still learning. I'm still learning about racism and white supremacy. But I'm thinking, but only because I live it every goddamn day. I live it every day. Anytime I pick up a history book, I realize, that was, 1815? What's the difference between 1815 and 1950? 1915. 2015. They're inherent for black Americans, not a goddamn thing. Just in a different form, people. And I was serious when I said that the only way white supremacy will end is if there was an asteroid that came down on Earth, landed on Earth, that obliterated all the white people in Europe, North America, and Australia. Oh, I'm going to do a podcast on that. White supremacy in Australia. Okay? Just hold on to your hats on that podcast. It's coming, people. People, we got to start thinking. We got to sit down and do more thinking and stop speaking. We don't need to go up and put up a show just because we're heard. Too many black folks are just so verbose. They can speak for hours and hours and hours on non sequitur bullshit instead of just getting right to the point, getting right down to the nitty gritty and getting down to business. It's all about taking yourself seriously and taking what you have to say seriously. Okay? Taking what you do seriously. Be serious on the job. Stop joking and clowning around with your enemy. They're not your friends. Okay? They're not your friends. They're not anybody to be playing with. Okay? Because this is real. This is serious, man. This is serious, people. This is war out here, people. You got to start taking your goddamn self seriously. Black folks need to start using our time productively. I know I should be watching the NBA finals right now, along with millions and millions of other niggers out here who are watching this game, this meaningless game to me, which I'm not going to make any money off of it. Steph Curry And LeBron James could give a flying fuck whether or not I watch the game or not. They're all about money. Instead of about they're all about money and entertainment. These are, professional athletes are people that I don't really take seriously. None of y'all should take it seriously. Look, when the NFL season begins, I'm not even gonna take that shit seriously as well. I'm a New Orleans Saints fan, but I don't take that shit seriously. I can give a fuck whether or not they go to the Super Bowl this year or not. I don't give a fuck. Okay? If they go 2-7 this year, I'll find something else to do. It's not that serious, people. Professional sports is not serious enough as a black man in this day of age of white supremacy and Jim Crow 2.0 in full effect. It's not something that I want to try to escape the realities of what's going on in this country, in this world, when white supremacy is looming, people. This is not the time to stick your head in the sand like a goddamn ostrich. Okay? Now, if I have time on this sermon, I want to talk about a little bit about that punk ass bitch. That punk ass bitch who was passing for white. Fuck that bitch name is Rachel Dolezal. Now this punk ass bitch lost her mind. And see, this is what I'm talking about when white people lose their mind. This bitch went for years posing as a black woman. This bitch became the head of the NAACP out in Spokane, Washington, where there's about 2% black folks out there in Eastern Washington, in white supremacist land of Washington State. Because that whole area, Eastern Washington, Idaho, that's white supremacist land, right out there. That's where the white supremacists hang out. Okay, I wouldn't be surprised if there's any militia groups out there that's ready to overthrow the government. But this punk ass bitch was outed as being a white woman by her mother and father. So this punk ass bitch had the hair, like the curly hair, the tan skin, and nobody really figured out that this was a white woman. I can just look at this punk ass bitch, and see that she's a white woman. Now, I don't know what the controversy is all about. You got a punk ass bitch passing as a black woman. What did she do that was so wrong? Did she steal money? She probably did. She obtained money from Howard University probably as a black woman. This is what I've heard. Got a full scholarship on arts as an art major. And when she was doing interviews, she actually believed that she was a black woman. She said that, yeah, I am a black woman. This woman, steadfastly stated that she held on to the belief that she was a black woman, that she still is a black woman. These white people have lost their mind. First, Bruce Jenner becomes a woman. Now this punk ass bitch is outed becomes an instant celebrity for passing as a black woman. This wasn't no experiment. This bitch was actually serious about being a black woman. And everybody's just, all these punk ass black conservatives was yucking it up, saying that this is comedy. Because it's not because they're attacking her, they're attacking the institution of the NAACP institution. Which I don't take those niggas seriously because they're getting money from white corporations anyway. They're being funded by white corporations. So they don't work in the interest of black folks anyway. So I don't really give a fuck about the NAACP or anything about this punk ass bitch posing as a black woman. It doesn't posing as a black woman and still holding on to that belief that she is a black woman. Still lying about herself. She has when people do that, they have no knowledge of herself. This bitch has no knowledge of herself. She has no history of herself. She doesn't like the history of her growing up as a white woman. Have no little pride in whatever culture that she has or non-culture that they have, because white people, Caucasian people, they don't have a culture except for violence and pillaging and because they're mutants. These are the mutants of the human race. If anything, if I were to say it, if I were to dig deeper, they probably are subhuman cretins. But some punk ass black person white retort and say, "Hey, hold on, talking crazy. That's the same thing that these white people say about you." Well, fuck them. Everything else is a lie. They can say it. That doesn't necessarily mean it's true, because they can say it because they're under the guise of white supremacy. They're punk ass bitches. They're cowards. Because if there was no white supremacy, there's no need to, there would be no need for me to disparage white folks, Asian folks, Hindu folks. There was no need for it. But see, when we're in white supremacy, there's a need for them to disparage me as being subhuman, as a black man being subhuman, is to keep their social hierarchy in order. They don't want to give up they don't want to give up white privilege. They don't want to give up this system of white supremacy. They actually, I believe, a lot of them, 99% of these white mutants, enjoy practicing white supremacy on black folks. They enjoy it. They love and enjoy it. They enjoy it, whether it's conscious or unconscious. I can't take that chance with none of these mutants that I have to live with in this country. Like I said before, if I have to deal with white people on a business level, hey, that's cool with me. I don't give a fuck. Anything else, social level, parties, whatever, nah, that's all right. That's all right. That's okay. I don't want to drink with you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to have anything to do with you. Other than in a business, except for when I'm doing business with you. I'm not dating you. I don't want to touch you. I don't want to go over to your house for dinner. I don't want you to save my life. Just leave. All I want white people to do is to leave me alone and let me live my life. See, black folks need to start, and let me just go ahead and end this podcast about black folks and critical thinking. See how I just broke down that whole Rachel Dolezal, whatever the fuck her last name is? Instead of black folks just sitting around cracking jokes on Twitter, where there's a hashtag of Ask Rachel with all these corny jokes, instead of sitting around thinking about coming up on how to diss this punk ass bitch, you should really sit down and think about the mental state of this punk ass bitch who decided to just pose as a black woman for years, denying who she really is. See, that's no different from when black folks who are light-skinned enough to pass as white. That's even worse. I understand why they do it, why they would have to deny their heritage and deny who they are just to eat off the white man's plate. But what's perplexing to me is that this punk ass bitch decided to be black, and we still don't know why. Everybody else is running around just, I don't know, just so amazed that this white woman is posing as a black woman, instead of asking, why would this punk ass bitch want to be a black woman? And my conclusion is that I think something's really mentally wrong with this bitch, and we need to sit down and examine that. How did she become the president of the NAACP chapter out in Spokane, Washington? How did she go from being this purebred white girl to this curly hair, tan skin white woman, where she fooled a lot of black folks out there in Washington State? Couldn't fool me. I would instantly know something's wrong with this bitch. It may take me a while to figure it out, but but then again, think about it like this. These white mutants came from who? The original people as black folks. Now you might ask, well, if we're the original people, why did we allow these white mutants to take over and overpower us and control all the resources? Because they got guns and they fooled us, and they just took over whatever culture, took over whatever land that black folks have, or non-white folks, particularly black folks, took their land and took it for themselves. Okay? Bred with the women, had babies with the women. Because, of course, my relatives doesn't understand about the Constitution, that 3/5 haven't been removed from the Constitution. It's just been repealed with another amendment, stating that with the 13th Amendment, where they gave black folks full citizenship after 1863. Look it up. I'm sorry, after 1868, after the Civil War, where they gave, no, it was 1864, where they gave black folks full citizenship. No, I'm sorry. The 14th Amendment gave full citizenship after, in 1868, black folks full citizenship. Anybody that was born in the United States, black person that was born in the United States under slavery, became United States citizens, full citizenship. You know, it kind of repealed that 3/5 amendment that was in the Constitution, but that's neither here or there. I can go into it deeper, but fuck it. This is my podcast. We just need to start thinking more instead of speaking more. We need to just keep our mouths shut in the media, to the police, to each other. See, it's always. You know, it's amazing to me that a lot of black folks who want to argue or debate, which I think debating is a waste of time, unless we're coming. I like the dialogue and come up with solutions. You know, get together with a think tank of other progressive black folks. Get together, start thinking about issues that's going on in our country among black Americans. Come up with a plan of action. And implement and find ways of implementing that plan. Okay? We don't need the coons. We don't need the prison niggers involved. We don't need the uneducated that's involved. That's all these black women running around. Like that black woman that came to my page, came on my channel, came on my podcast, left that comment calling me a coon. Okay? She wouldn't have done that to Larry Elder or she wouldn't have done that to Larry Elder. She wouldn't have done that to Jesse Lee Peterson, who are bigger coons than well, let's examine why am I a coon for speaking out about black folks recklessly getting pregnant, recklessly having babies with no means of taking care of those babies. Okay, further damaging those children. See, when people play with sex, and that's what I surmise when people have multiple children with multiple partners, they're playing with sex. The joke is really on the offspring. See, the offspring of your children is gonna run into somebody like me. Okay, they're gonna run into somebody like me. And I'm a lightweight. But they're going to run into Tariq. They're going to run into people like Tariq Nasheed. They're going to run into people. They're going to run into white people. And then they're not going to know what to do. Okay? Because you, black man and black woman, haven't prepared your children on what's going to happen to them in a society where it is excuse me, you haven't prepared them to how to handle a white supremacist society that we are living in right now today. You haven't prepared them for shit. And you want to call me a coon. I'm a coon. No, nah, bitch. The coons are the men that you procreated with. Those are the coons. Those are the coons you procreated with who never thought of you as being a viable life partner and wanted to marry you. Put a cubic zirconia on your left hand. Okay? Though that's a coon. And you're a coon too, bitch. For having all these goddamn children that you could barely take care of. Having these children all messed up. So fuck you. Fuck your children. Fuck your baby daddies. Well, anyway, let me go ahead and cut this podcast short. I've gone on for about almost an hour. But black folks, pick up a book, Start reading. Learn your history. Develop knowledge of yourself. Develop your critical thinking skills. Learn how to analyze an issue. And stop speaking so much. Talk too that goddamn much. Get y'all checked. Get y'all shit. Get y'all niggas up in trouble. And I know I'm sorry. I'm not even supposed to use that word anymore. I'm sorry. But it's gonna take me time, man. It's gonna take me time to deprogram myself from calling another black person a nigger. Unless they actually are a nigger. And we're going to talk about that in another podcast. But, let me go ahead and cut this podcast short. This is Talking Crazy 88. And I am out of here. And one more thing, people. Black folks, let's be careful out there, all right? Talk to you soon.